Hello everybody, welcome fellow CSAs and any others. Today we're here to talk about vetting. As the three sisters from the musical and movie Fiddler on the Roof sang, matchmaker, matchmaker, make me a match, find me a find, catch me a catch. Wouldn't it be nice if we could hire a matchmaker to put our perfect network together for our business, filled with service providers that are highly qualified, ethical, and very likable as well? Today we're here to talk about how to make the right matches in the correct way in order to create the perfect network for you, your clients, and your business success. Many large companies have a person or department in charge of vendor management, but we don't all have that luxury. So we're going to talk about how we do that for ourselves and our businesses. So what do we want? We want a network made up of trusted, ethical professionals. And it's necessary to operate a successful business. We must have this. It's not only about your expertise and ethics, but that of those that surround you. We're only as good as the company we keep. This is really an important thing to think about. We are professionals who work with older adults. Many of us came to the field of aging due to a personal circumstance. Many of us are working with seniors in order to provide them with the highest level of customer service, but also for protection. And in order to protect them completely, it's not only about the good quality customer service or products that we give directly to the client, but it's the referrals that we make to them and how we protect them in that manner. So if protecting your clients is a top priority, then vetting all professionals who you would refer to a senior is a must. When we go to different events, they might be networking events or conferences, and you make a positive connection with someone, and you get their business card, you get their contact information, you feel good about this person. But are we sometimes a bit too trusting when it comes to hiring professionals? Do we feel that, well, we got this good sense about the person, so should we begin referring them in our business? Here's some other questions I want you to think about, because I think might be even a societal issue. Are we uncomfortable with screening and asking questions that might make it appear we don't trust the individual, when it isn't about that at all? Is it so far out of our comfort zone to ask questions of someone we're considering hiring that we'd rather risk hiring the wrong person and also risk damaging our own reputation? So what is vetting? Some people I've found through a little bit of polling aren't familiar with the word, don't understand it. So I wanted to put up the definition here, and I'll just go ahead and read it. A thorough and diligent review of a prospective person or company prior to hiring, to check someone's background, credentials, character, and or reputation to find out if they're appropriate for a particular job. Okay, so if we're going to vet someone, where do we even begin? What do we look for, both on the positive side and the negative side? And if you take it out of the business world, think of it as a personal situation. Say you're selecting a surgeon for yourself or a loved one, or a veterinarian for your pet, or a contractor to put an addition on your home. Most people would check them out very thoroughly. They might and should do a comparison of several within a particular field to make sure that they're getting the right person for them. So does the individual appear to go above and beyond to provide the best service to their clients? Do they have a high level of expertise? Do they possibly, are they involved in continuing education or something that demonstrates that they're always on top of their field and what's current? Do they work in concert with others as opposed to competing with them? Sometimes a red flag is when you see someone who's very aggressive and they're very much against any competitor, that's a red flag for me. There are competitors to all of us, and we have to learn how to be the best we can be and proceed without being so burdened by, oh, what's the competitor doing? Are they encroaching onto my area? So look for those red flags. You naturally do this to protect you and those you care about. Well, the same applies to you in a business sense, you professionally, for your business, and especially for that senior client. So when you take the time to develop and maintain this perfect network that's perfect for you, it's a valuable part of your business. It's as valuable as your greatest employees or other business assets. It actually has a monetary value within your business. So have you developed your perfect network? Have you anticipated your clients' needs and selected the right service providers in advance of a crisis? So if there's a senior client that you are not in the financial world and they have a financial crisis going on, as a CSA, the hope is that you would be trying to connect that senior to the right person to make sure that that crisis was averted. If you don't have that financial person in your network or persons, that's a problem. That's a problem for you correctly navigating that senior client through the needs that they have at the time. So think of that network, and are there holes in your network? And do you have the right people on the right seats of the bus? Are they really the best of the best? And are you happy with the service providers that you are currently working with? If you feel wishy-washy about someone, maybe it's time that they're replaced. How can you be a valuable referral source to your clients if you do not have all the tools in your toolkit? We're operating in business with a sparse network. It is not a good situation to be in as a professional. So I have given you, there's a handout, and I'm going to try to switch to it so you can see it here. There is something called My Perfect Network, and let me put this on full screen. Yeah, if you didn't get this, it will be part of the package that you'll get afterward. This is one of the handouts that'll be available. So I went through and I listed a lot of different types of industries in the world of aging, so to speak, and I made two columns, the have and the need column. So this is where you can take the time on your own to go through and see if you have people in any of these areas that you would recommend. And I'm just going to scroll down here because I want you to see. Also, I grouped it by industries, so industries for business operation and industries for, the top ones are for referrals possibly to senior clients. Then down here, we've got organizations in the field of aging. So here are all sorts of adult protective services. I put Colorado, but you can locate it in your state. Alzheimer's Association, there's the geriatric care managers, gerontology, all different groups that you might be able to get very valuable information from. So they could be part of your network. So when you're thinking about making the list of this network and who do you have, who do you really like, and consider the holes in it. What are you missing? So those are some of those industries that you might want to look at and consider. I don't have this particular industry, so maybe I need to investigate people in my area that have that expertise. So those holes are critical that they be filled. So when you meet people and you are considering this vetting process and getting deeper into the relationship, one of the big mistakes I think a lot of people make is they sit behind a desk and send emails and expect a relationship to build. Or sometimes they'll pick up the phone and there's some phone conversations. But if it's possible to set up a face-to-face meeting, I would do so. Schedule the time, meet with the person, even if it's for coffee or lunch, dinner, in between, and then you will be amazed at how you'll notice if there are red flags, and you'll notice also if you have a really great impression of the person. We know this just from in our own personal lives. So when you begin this process, you need to determine, for time's sake, do you move forward or not? If you feel there's a fit, and if the other party feels there is a fit, it needs to be mutual. Then proceed. And then provide them with as much information about you as you would want from them. So when vetting, we need to set up standards. So determine standards, and an example of a standard would be a statement, I always qualify when I refer. So when I'm saying to a senior client, I have met this person, I have worked with them extensively, they have worked with my clients over 100 times, versus I don't really have anyone in this particular industry, but I did meet this individual. I met them at a conference. I was very impressed. I've checked them out in the following ways. I've looked at their website. I've looked at their LinkedIn profile. I've investigated to this point. If you're transparent about that, this is outstanding, because a consumer wants to know not just, oh, here's a business card, contact this person. But they want to know more in depth. Why? What's the relationship? How do you know them? Have you seen proven work? Especially if adult children are hiring professionals for their older adult parents. It really is critical. They are very skeptical. Seniors are very skeptical. The number one thing that I encountered in my dealings was a fear of being taken advantage. When I was first meeting with a senior client, the concern was, you know, who are you? Are you reputable? Are you going to take advantage of me? So when we're vetting and we can keep track of this information, it's very valuable, not only for use with other professionals, but in use with referring to your senior clients. So you set your standards, and then you have to develop your process. What are the steps that you're going to follow? So you meet someone, whether it's physically, electronically, however that takes place, and you collect all this information. And the best thing to do is to establish a database, such as Outlook, or if you use some other type of software, Salesforce, whatever, to keep track of contacts. However you do that, make sure that you get as much information as possible. Their full legal name, if they've got a nickname, a title, their company, their email, phone, website, read their website thoroughly, their address if you can get that, and then what social media are they on. So this is really a vital part of knowing that even though this is work, when you're setting up these connections in your address book or database, whether the person is a good lead, a good person for your network, or whether they're not, even the people who are not, it's great to keep track of them, because then, you know, we come through across many people, and sometimes we don't remember their name. If we keep a good database on who's right for us and who isn't, we won't waste our time going down the road if we encounter a person years later and it's somebody we decided against. So one of the things that I think is very critical is to look at the various search engines and begin to research all the things I told you before, their full legal name and nickname, their company name, their website. Go to Google, go to Yahoo, Bing, whatever you use, and put in their name and put in some negative words. Convicted of, lawsuit, accused of, indicted, and you will be surprised what you come up with. It is critical. It's a critical part of your research. You can very quickly eliminate someone if you see that there are some concerns about that individual. What you need to do is also look at the social media side of things. Are you checking someone out and their company as their individual name and their company name on various social networking sites? Are you checking the Better Business Bureau and Angie's List, Yelp, things like that? I want you to think about your own profile, your own electronic profile. So if you go back to your website, is that something that's current? Is it updated regularly? Do you have your About Us information up to speed? Are photos current? And do you have any social media? And if you do have social media, what does it look like? Is your Facebook page a company page, or are you using your personal for company and business relationships? That's really a no-no. There should be only a company page. Are you using Pinterest? This is a great way to get people to follow you and to get connected with interesting things that you have going on in your business. I think one of the most critical, if you're not a person who's on social media, and you really should be, you need to be on LinkedIn. And on LinkedIn, and this is where you really need to make sure that everything is filled out in its entirety. Do you have an egghead? Meaning, is there no photo on your LinkedIn page? This is a big mistake. If you think about people vetting electronically, they're going to be looking at multiple people all the time. And when an impression is made, you need to make an impression within seconds. And they're going to go quickly to your website. They're going to see what social media you're on. They're going to click on those links. And if they find that you have not completed or you're not even a part of these things and someone else is, they'll look to someone else. If I can go to someone else's LinkedIn page and I can see what their entire background, their work history, publications that they've done, all sorts of things they've participated in, what nonprofits are they involved in. These are all critical things that make someone vet a person and raises them, raises the bar for that individual through the vetting process. It is a critical piece, and I really would love that you don't overlook that. If you don't have it, or you have it and it isn't up to speed, make sure that you get that done, because you will be passed by and they'll move on to someone else. Check Angie's List and Yelp. Are there negative comments about you? Are you on there at all? See what people are thinking and saying about you. And if they're saying nothing, that's an issue also. Instagram is also a great place to take photos from a smartphone, and then you're able to post those photos and have followers view. So you can be showing a lot about what you're doing in your business with the click of the camera, so to speak, and have one photo and give a tremendous message about what you're doing and what you're involved in. Today, YouTube is huge. Videos are huge. Videos on your website, videos on YouTube really are going to become an important and critical part of your business if they're not already. It is a way in a very, very short period of time to get people to truly understand you and vet you. So if you're looking at someone else, checking to see what they have up on YouTube, it's very, very interesting. Twitter is another one. A lot of people are not involved in Twitter in terms of the demographic group that we have at CSAs, and I think that might be something that people would like to look at. It's a way that you don't have to be tied up with it, but you certainly can be following individuals and simply retweeting those in your profession that you want to be associated with. This is a great way to follow someone someone that you may not really have access to and you would like access to. Again, are you on the Better Business Bureau? If you are, how are you rated? The CSA locator is something that's available to you, and you really should take advantage of it, because as a CSA, your vetting process, if someone else is vetting you, the bar is already raised. You are all background checked, and not all professionals are background checked. That is a big deal. You have all passed the CSA certification exam from our accredited program. That's a big deal. This is something that you need to elevate this. It needs to be on your website. It needs to be a part of your LinkedIn, your Facebook, all of the social media that you're using. Connect yourself, but make sure before you do that CSA locator profile, the profile of all your information, is as up to date and as much of it is filled out as possible, just like I was saying about LinkedIn. Very, very critical. And if you're involved in these things, not only do they have to be complete, but it has to show that it's active, that you're doing something that is current, and that's what you're also looking for when you're vetting another professional. Are they up to speed on these various things? So be transparent and vet yourself so that when you are meeting with another professional that you're going to begin vetting, imagine if you were sitting with them and you were able to say, by the way, here, or let me send you a link all about me. Here's my LinkedIn profile, here's my website, here's everything that you need to know about me so that you can decide if we truly are the right fit. So one thing that's very interesting, when I vetted myself, I Googled myself and I found that there's a woman named Judy Rough in North Carolina who has a bankruptcy. And I've never had a bankruptcy, thank goodness, and I realized that when you do vet yourself and you do find a negative, some people have your name. And if you are forthright with this and you bring it up before it becomes an issue, so someone may read very quickly, bankruptcy Judy Rough, not bother to recognize that it isn't me. So by me saying, oh, by the way, you may, when you're checking me out, you may notice that this occurred with a Judy Rough in North Carolina. It isn't me. I had nothing to do with it. So it's really just simple stuff, but it can make the difference, because what could happen is someone could go ahead and be looking at you, or you're looking at someone else, and you're just making an assumption that that's that individual, and you move on, and you don't want to be overlooked because of a misunderstanding. So you have to think of yourself as that Sherlock Holmes type of detective and take the lead. But when you're sitting with someone and you're going to start asking them questions, you can't feel uncomfortable about asking these questions, because it makes you look like a true professional when you investigate this. They're going to want to work with you just because you're so on top of your game. But when you're speaking to someone, listen to what is said and what is not said. You have to be able to peel that onion skin back and detect, what's really going on here. It's paying attention, a listening skill is critical to the vetting process. So let's talk about some important questions that you might want to consider when you're with someone and you're vetting them and you want to go deeper. So find out what additional support services that they provide. That's a good question. You see there, generally they'll say what services they have on their website, but, are there others? And sometimes when you hear them ramble on and on and on about services rather, that there's just too many services. There's no way anyone is necessarily an expert in everything, and so that's worth investigating. Another question is finding out their approach or their philosophy when they're working with their clients. Does it match your philosophy? That's a really critical thing. Find out who their ideal client is. Are you in sync? Because when you're referring back and forth, it's just good information to have. You want to make sure that although you may need them for their service, it's important from a business standpoint to know, do you have the same type of client base? What are their company's strengths? So what do they talk about? What do they say? What do they highlight as really important? Again, you're going to get, you keep that, you listen and you keep your eyes and ears open for anything that's very positive or negative. Who else might I be working with in your business? I think this is one of the most critical questions. Many times when we're meeting someone and we need a certain type of professional to refer to our client, or we need them for our own business reasons, we look at them, the person we're talking to, we're vetting them, we're vetting that individual. But what happens when they pass on the actual work to an employee or a contractor? You know, we're not vetting that person. That's the individual that may be with our senior client, and we haven't vetted that person. So that needs to be understood, and you need to meet that person, and you need to put them through the vetting process as well. And then simple things like, what is your policy for responding to requests by email or phone? So do they have, I'll respond within 24 hours or 48 hours, or do they have no policy? Do they really just do it as they can? Do they feel, do you get the feeling that they're overburdened by the work, or do they have great systems in place so that the customer service really shines? And what is their approach to timelines? So, you know, do they have a process for project management? You know, when they're going to be doing work for you or your client, are they going to do this on a timely basis? And are they going to report updates regularly about anything that has slipped or is come in on time or before? So ask them to tell you about a real life circumstance. What can they reveal? You know, they obviously they can't go beyond the confidentiality rules. We don't want them to get into something we shouldn't know about, but they talk about a success client project and what were the outcomes of that project? Because remember, read between the lines, see what they say and what they don't say. And how do they communicate changes to clients? So if there is a delay or there is some sort of issue, are they notifying them immediately? Are they rescheduling? Sometimes people make a change, say, oh, well, I can't be there, but there's no follow-up in terms of, well, when can you be there? And that's really critical. How do you best like to work with your clients? So you just get a feel for what they say, what the circumstances are, what's their ideal circumstance in working with their clients. And when you're asking these questions, you can't forget about the actual business practices that we all go through. How do they bill? What are their billing practices? Ask to see their certificate of insurance. How are they covered? Are they correctly covered for the type of thing that would matter when referring to your client or with you using them in the business? And are they background checked? One of the key things for me is the contract. Do they use a contract, number one? If so, can you see their contract template? And then ask them a really critical question. How do they execute a contract? Ask them to describe the process of executing a contract, in particular knowing that they're going to be referred a senior client. Are they aware of things like macular degeneration, hearing loss? Do they have cognitive understanding of cognitive impairment issues? These are all critical. Do they take the time? Do they let a senior take a contract home and digest it, or is it let me just basically give you a little quick outline and sign here at the bottom in a very quick manner. This is not the way we want our seniors treated. Does a contract need to go to an adult child or a trusted representative of some sort to protect that client? Are they protecting the senior? That is a really, really critical issue. Older adults have a fear of financial exploitation, physical, emotional abuse, and neglect. The more layers of protection that we can give them, the better. So make sure that you understand that. So all it's about is uncovering what you need to know. It's taking the time to figure this out. And once it's done, it's done. It's not something that you have to go back and do a lot of maintenance on. You will grow your credibility tremendously when you have a network that's outstanding, because as I said earlier, you're only as good as the company you keep. So when you've created the perfect network, you'll become known for these valuable resources, and that will become one of your most important assets in your business. And you'll also be a great connector, and that's something that's very attractive. So there won't be any guilt by association when you take the time to properly vet. Instead, there will be success, and everyone will want to be associated with you. So this is something that you want as liability insurance. This vetting process is very valuable, and it really does come back to benefit you, but it will also, if you don't do it, it could come back and hurt you, destroy your reputation, and destroy the company that you're working so hard to build, or as an employee, the business that you're working to support. We can't ignore this. It is something that I feel is one of those issues that just we gloss over for some reason. We get very busy and we tend to think that it either isn't necessary or it isn't a priority, and this needs to be a priority. And for those who are in a startup mode or thinking of starting up a business, this is something you can do in advance, even though you don't have work for someone. If you look at that sheet that I showed you with the My Perfect Network sheet, and you start to think about your ideal client and all of the possible services, products or services that they might need, and begin the vetting beforehand so that you have that toolkit already in place, it's really going to serve you well as you proceed. So you have to go deep, and you have to stop thinking that you can just look at the surface and not do the job of properly vetting. I would say that if I think about the amount of time that it takes me to vet someone, you're talking about really a total of 15 to 20 minutes electronically, and then obviously a meeting could be a half an hour to an hour to begin that process. But one of the things about going deep and going way below the surface is even when you're into the vetting process, when someone's established with you, they're already a part of your network, the vetting doesn't end, because if you're not calling your client and following up and saying, oh, I referred so-and-so to you and I want to see how it went. Did they show up on time? Did they give you good service? Do you have a good feeling? And you want to call that professional as well and say, how did it go? What happened? These are 5-minute phone calls, and in our very, very busy worlds, it demonstrates a level of customer service that's so far beyond what most are doing, and you'll really stand out when you do this type of thing. So it feels great when we find the right people and develop the right relationships and form a powerful network and build a successful business that ultimately benefits the older adult clients we serve. So I hope that you will take the time to look at the handouts that I've sent. There's an article and it's titled "Help, I Need an Expert. What Your Small Business Needs to Grow," and there's a part 1 and 2. This is written by Jackie Nagel, who is a business coach, and it really talks about and supports everything that I was talking about today. Also, there is another sheet called The Perfect Network, Creating the Perfect Network for Long-Term Success, and it gives you some idea of what you need to do and what the payoff is and the benefits are to you. So you can plot an annual outreach strategy, and one of the things I recommend is if you have a way of setting up a tickler system to be reminded that you connected with a certain person and you want to be sure that you're giving them information and valuable content about your particular expertise without being salesy, just giving them things that will benefit them, and reach out to them. Look at attending annual conferences or trade shows that pertain to your business. Join local groups. We've got Leaders Networks groups going around the country, but there are also different types of senior coalitions and other things right in your neighborhood. You can look to join advisory boards or governing boards, and then there are certain social media groups too that you can also join. You can participate in blogs. If you're a speaker, you can sign up for the Speakers Bureau that CSA has one that you can join for no cost. And you can write articles for publications and share them. So in order to keep those professionals that you want engaged with you, you want them to be seeing you in a certain light as well as you connecting with them. So it's a two-way street back and forth. The other handout that I gave you is, and I want to see, Erica, you might have to help me here if I can find it. Let me see. This handout is one that you can use with your clients. So you can print it out. It'll actually come out as a one-pager for you. And this is something that, let's say you go and you have a potential client who is thinking about hiring you, they're vetting you, they're trying to figure out, they've got another person who does what you do lined up, and they're just checking you out. They're going to let you know if you're going to be the person that they select. So the flyer in front of you is something that they can use to ask the questions of another professional. So you're demonstrating here that you want to help them. You want to make sure that they get somebody that's right for them, whether it's you or somebody else. You're showing that you're caring and a very trustworthy professional. So that, and I just want to run through this. We have some time, so I want to run through this because I think that this will also make you think about yourselves and how you measure up when you're asked these questions. So the how long have you been in business is a pretty basic one. You can ask about education, background, and credentials. And then this is where some of these questions are crafted so that if you're a CSA, the answer is yes. If you're not a CSA, the answer might more than likely would be no. So have you gone beyond your area of expertise to study other subject matters I encounter, meaning the senior, like issues about my health, my living situation, and my finances? Well, we as CSAs have studied health, social, legal, and ethical, and financial things that pertain to seniors. So that answer for us would be yes. More than likely it would be no for others. How often, are you background checked by an objective third party? We are. Every 3 years, CSAs are background checked by an objective third party. Not all professionals can say that. Do you have a referral network of professionals who are background checked and educated in issues associated with someone like me? Do you understand the challenges I face that go beyond your area of expertise, and how have you adapted your business to cater to me? So this is where your perfect network comes in. This is where you're able to say that I have assembled a group of professionals who, if I don't have that area of expertise, I am someone I can refer you to. I have many people I can refer you to who are thoroughly vetted, and then you can tell them about your vetting process. How have you demonstrated that you are an ethical professional I can trust? And that's where you have also, you're able to state that you have passed the roles, rules, and responsibility ethical test that you're given by CSA. You're following the strict code of ethics, and I'm sure many of you are associated with specific industries that have their own code of ethics. And you can even give them a copy of the code of ethics and state that this is something you abide by. And you know, the fact that you are background checked every 3 years also is a statement to that. What have you done to maintain your knowledge both in your professional field and in other areas important to me? So here again, as a CSA, you're always taking continuing education courses in order to maintain your certification. So that's how you can state that you're always learning, you're always keeping up on the latest trends in your field of expertise as well as other areas. And then how can you help navigate me, the senior, in other issues that they encounter outside their area of expertise? So that's again where you're pushing back to that perfect network and how you can be the single point of contact if you so desire to run your business that way. What resources can you direct me to? So this is also something that is not only talking about your network as individual professionals, but also your resources is as far as possibly adult protective services or a whole host of the Social Security website, Medicare, all these different websites and resources that this particular person would know that you have a bank of, and they would not need to have to do all the homework. You've already done all that. Are you aware of new industries that have been developed that offer products and services for older adults? If so, can you list them for me? Do you have a personal or professional expertise that drew you to the work you do today? If so, what? And do you hold a certification from an accredited program? If so, which? Of course, as a CSA, you would be able to answer yes to that. Will you allow me to take a copy of your business contract home to review myself or with someone I trust? That points back to what we were talking about earlier. Are you giving them the time they need? So I have a little poem here that is really important, and I think it states so much about what we are trying to do. And if you could stand in my shoes, hear what I hear, see what I see, feel what I feel, would you work with me differently? You would if you listen to me, if you have respect and compassion for me as an individual with unique needs. Certified Senior Advisors.